What's going on, guys? LA Cool J back here with the Arcane guide. Now this is going to finish up all the mage staffs in this series, then we're going to move on to other ones. Let's go ahead and get started straight into the Arcane. Okay boys, so your first Q ability here is going to be called Energy Bolt. Now this one is super cool the way it works out. Check it out. So it is a single target damage ability, but the lower energy the enemy has, the more damage you do to them. That's really cool. So as they're spamming their abilities, trying to, fight you back, the more energy they're spending, the lower energy they have, the more damage you do. Now to mobs, it's always just going to do a fat chunk of damage. This is a really strong thing. Okay, so the second ability on your Q is going to be called Arcane Protection. This one's really cool. It's like a personal bubble for yourself or any one of your teammates. You just cast a shield on yourself and it lasts for 4 seconds. And during that 4 seconds, you're immune to all damage, you or whoever you cast it on. It's a really cool ability. It's only on a 5-second cooldown, so basically there's going to be 1 second in between having this up. So it's very strong. Okay, to start off the W's here, Frazzle. Now this is probably one of the strongest abilities on here as far as DPS goes. So what Frazzle does, it's kind of like an armor pierce. So it's a 1.1 second cast time. That's so hard to say. It's a pretty long cast time, but after it does, it deals a nice amount of magical damage to them and increases the damage that the enemy takes by almost 24% for 5 seconds. Now this is really strong because you can use it to burn targets down. You can use it to when you're out ZBZing and you see like a mammoth or any kind of like battle mount. All the arcanes usually switch to Frazzle so they can burn the target down. Frazzle is extremely strong and very powerful. Okay, so the next ability on your W is called Energy Beam. Now this is pretty cool. It works 2 different ways. So let's talk about the first way. So when you're casting it on an enemy, it literally does what it says. It's energy, so it takes the energy away from them. 14 energy per tick, and it's a pretty long cast time. So you can just drain down some energy from your enemies, or you can cast it on an ally and it takes 14 energy from yourself and restores 28 energy per second to your ally. It's a really cool way to either take energy away from the team or give your team energy. It's a really cool ability. You use it more or less in like small scale content, but it's a really cool idea, and I really like the way this ability works. Okay, so now the next ability on here is like the big wiener, boys. It's called Empowering Beam. Now this is where you see in ZBZs, small scale, big scale, any kind of PvP, or even in some PvE, but mainly in PvP, when you see like just like brimstones or like longbows or anything like that, or even like wailing bows and stuff like that, just do like freaking massive amounts of damage. Yeah, those weapons can do it on their own, but most of the time they're being beamed. And when somebody's like, beam me, it's an energy beam. So check it out. Energy beam is a channel ability that you channel onto a target. Now as you're channeling that, it builds up 10 stacks. And when it gets to 10 stacks, it creates 100% damage increase that player gives out. So like for example, when you're in ZBZ or any kind of PvP and you're about to go into an engage, you start beaming whoever you want, like a longbow, a brimstone, anything like that. And then they start getting their stacks, and then once they have that 10 stacks, they start doing their damage, and it's just disgusting amount of damage. Empowering Beam is extremely strong. It's been in the Arcane tree for a very long time, and it's just really strong. Have fun playing with it. That's all I gotta say. Okay, so next ability here is called Motivating Cleanse. Now this one's pretty cool because it works in 2 different ways. So it's a cleanse for either yourself, or you can target anybody that you want on your team and you can cleanse them. Now the cool thing about this cleanse is after it cleanses them, they have you or anybody that's around the cleanse that you put it on has a 20% movement speed for 5 seconds. This is pretty cool. Note that it doesn't remove any damage over time spells. Like it won't remove like curse stacks on you or fire stacks on you, but it will remove like roots, snares, stuns, and stuff like that. So if you guys get caught out in a choke, and like say like a nature doesn't cleanse up, you can just go and cleanse yourself and your party. And then also after that cleanse, it's cool because you have a 20% movement speed, so it helps you get away from that dire situation. That's what's really cool about this one. Okay, another really cool ability here. This is the last one in the W tree. It's called Arcane Purge. It removes all positive status effects on an enemy. That means if they have any heals over time on themselves, or if they're stacking like a soldier armor, which allows them to do more damage, or if they're stacking like any kind of weapon that allows them to get like 3 stacks and go into big damage, you can just, you know, wait till they get to 3 stacks, and then boom, you can purge it off of them. And so it allows you to be able to negate a lot of damage. Now, Arcane is really cool because it's a support class. Yeah, it does a lot of damage and it has a lot of really cool utilities, but it's the utilities allow you to be able to support yourself and your team, to set up kills, to, you know, keep yourself alive, and to be able to just like make yourself more useful in the battlefield. That's what I like about Arcane. It's like a healer, but a little bit more. So it's like, you know, a healer, but like, you know, you also have damage, but you also have really cool utilities, and you get to wear plate chest. We'll talk about that later. So I mean, you're like a little paladin without the heals, right, boys? All right, let's move on. Okay, the first weapon that we're going to talk about here is going to be the one-handed arcane staff. This is what you get when you first start out playing the Arcane. This ability is called Arcane Orb. That's really cool. It's on a 20-second cooldown, but it shoots a spear in whatever location that you want, and on impact, it silences all enemies inside that spear. That's really cool, and it removes all enemies buffs, you know, and stuff like that, except healing. So if they also have, like, you know, if they're stacking their soldier chest or they're stacking something like that, it removes all that. And so it's a really cool way to stop, you know, casting, to stop people from rushing, and also just to be able to make sure that you can just, you know, silence and remove any kind of positive effects. It's really strong, really strong. Okay, so we're going to continue on to the Great Arcane. We're going to do all the non-artifacts first and then move into the artifacts. So this right here, the next ability on the Great Arcane is called Time Freeze. Now this was really cool. It's got a really cool rework and then patch coming up, and tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I can't remember what the day is. Well, basically it just makes it to where, like, the time freeze is longer and the area is a little bit bigger. So it's going to do the same thing, just be even better. So what this does is it's a targeted ability that you can place on the ground anywhere that you want, and it freezes all enemies in a 5-meter radius for 3 seconds. Now here's the cool thing. You know, it ignores like crowd control resistance and all that stuff. But they can't take any damage when they're inside of that. So it's really cool to set up kills or to stop enemies coming and rushing at you, because if you're taking a lot of damage and you need a reset, start throwing down your reset and boom, put a time freeze on the enemies, and they have to just sit there and watch you go back to full health, or watch your team reset the fight and then go back. It's really cool staff, and I'm really glad that it's getting some love, because I think it's a really cool and unique staff. Arcane has just like a lot of really cool unique things about it. Okay, so the next staff right here is going to be called the Enigmatic Staff. Now this is a really cool staff. I think it's underutilized. I think it's a really cool idea, but I think it could be used a little bit better, and maybe improved a little bit to make it a little bit more useful. So check it out. So it's called Protective. Oh my gosh, it's called Protective Beam. Now what this is, it's a channeled beam that you put on a target. Okay, and then once you put that on the target, it's an absorption protection. So it absorbs incoming damage. And it also shields up to 5 allies around that target. So if you have a guy standing in the middle and you put the beam on him, all allies around him are also going to get this protective shield around them. And it absorbs, it says 897 damage, but you know, as you scale up, the damage will, you know, the absorption shield will scale. Here's the thing though, it's a channeled ability, so you have to stand still and channel it. Also, the more you channel it, per every tick that you channel it, it takes away 18 energy. So it does drain your energy. But it's a nice little sacrifice, because this is the way for you to be able to nice AoE protection. And I really hope that this can get a really push forward into the meta, or just any kind of meta like ZBZ, any kind of meta, because I think it's a really strong staff. Yeah, it has a little downside that you have to stand still to channel it, but I don't know, like once you cast this and you like play around with it, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. It's really strong in like random dungeons and stuff like that also. So like you frazzle like the target that needs to take the most damage, and then you just boom, you just go in and start channeling the tank, and all the melee around it and whoever else is around it just has a nice protection shield. It's nice for the healer to not have to do so much work, and it also allows you to be able to do one, debuff a target to make it take more damage, and two, be able to make sure that everybody around you is protected. So the first artifact we're going to talk about here is the Witchwork. Now the Witchwork is super cool. This ability is called Black Hole, and it's like air compressor, but it's way tighter. Like it pulls it in way tighter. So it's a target ability you put wherever you want, and then after a short second, it collapses. The black hole collapses and pulls everybody inside of it, boom, right in the center. And it also slows them by 16% for 7 seconds. So even after the initial pull, there's a slow, and it does quite a bit of damage. It does almost 500 damage on just the initial pull. It's pretty cool because it one, it's an artifact, so you're leveling up artifacts. Two, it's a really nice way to control the battlefield. Also, there's a slow after it, and it has a little bit of damage. There's really no downside to using a Witchwork. It's an extremely strong staff, and I advise everybody to check it out. Next staff here is going to be called the Occult Staff. Now this one's really cool, aka the Carpet. So it's a really cool like magical energy little carpet that you put down, and it has really cool double effects. Just like with all arcane things, it always has like a really good effect for you and a really bad effect for like your enemies. So basically you put this down, and then anybody that's in your party, their movement speed is increased by 60% while they're on the carpet. Also, their normal attack speed is increased by 45%. That's pretty cool. But enemies inside of it, their movement speed is decreased, and also their attack speed is also increased. So any enemies inside of that are just going to be slowed, and your allies are going to be just sped up really fast. It's really cool. It lasts for 8 seconds, and it's just a really cool ability. I don't ever really see anybody throwing it down to like, you know, get the attack speed bonus or whatever. It's more or less like to push chokes or to you know, like exit somewhere safely, that way you're not getting called out or something like that. But this is a really cool staff, and everybody has fun playing it. Last artifact here is going to be called Locust. Now it's called the Malevolent Locust, but where everybody calls it the Locust. This is like the primary weapon that is used in ZVZs. This thing is really strong. So the ability is called the Void. Now what this is a target ability that you put wherever you want now, and then you channel it. So you put it down, and you have to channel it the whole time you're there, and it's a little black void that grows bigger and bigger. Now all of your allies inside of this void, all the negative effects by them are gonna be slowed. So like, you know, snares, you know, like, you know, anything that's gonna slow them, or if they have any like, you know, any kind of like dots on them or any kind of like thing like that, it's going to remove all that. So it makes you not be slowed, and it's going to remove all kinds of stuff like that. So you can't be, you know, you can't be rooted and stuff like that. It's really cool. So it allows your allies to get through chokes and stuff like that. So basically the way it's used in ZVZ is you have offensive locusts and defensive locusts. So an offensive locust will put it down as you guys are rushing in, so you can make sure that you can get through the choke, or get to a position that you need to be to start doing damage and to get things going. And you always have a defensive locust, so when you guys are backing up and you know they're going to do a counter engage and stuff like that, you have a defensive locust to throw down a locust to make sure that you guys are not getting caught out, and that way you can get back to a safe position before you can have to go back and re-engage. Okay, so now the cool side of that is all enemies that are inside of it, all their positive effects are removed. You know, like sprints, or like heals over time. They're stacking their weapons, anything like that. So it's a really cool way to make sure that they don't really have any, you know, attack for you, and then your team can get away. This is a very strong weapon, and it's the #1 ZVZ weapon, and it's basically only used just for big scale PvP. And if you want to level up a locust, just level up Witchwork, because it is an artifact. So, and now we can level it up without having to like take it out and, you know, like not really be very productive in your random dungeon group. I know it took a long time to talk about the locust, but it's one of the strongest and most important weapons as far as PvP goes in medium to large scale. And I wanted to make sure that everybody understand how this works, because it's very strong. Okay, now moving on to gear, we're going to do gear very fast here. So I'm just going to show you what I have set up right here. So one, we're going to go with a Knight's Helmet. Now Knight Helmet is really cool because it has an ability called Displacement Immunity, which basically that means is when you cast this, you and 5 allies can't be interrupted or, you know, rooted, stunned, or feared, or anything like that. So basically, because like I said earlier, a lot of these abilities on Arcane have a really long cast time. So if you can pop this and then start casting your abilities, you'll be able to just pump out free damage. Okay, so my favorite chest piece to go with Arcane is definitely going to have to be the Scholar Robe. Scholar Robe has a really cool ability called Speedcaster. It doubles your casting speed and decreases your energy cost by 70% for 8 seconds. This is really strong. Like I said earlier, a lot of these abilities have a really long cast time. So, and it's only on a 40-second cooldown, so every 40 seconds you can pump out some nastiness. What I like to do is, if you're gonna not take any damage, you're gonna do the first engage, go ahead and cast your W first, which is gonna be your Frazzle, and then cast that just regular without your speed cast. And then once you hit that, then hit your speed cast, and that way you have a full 8 seconds of just Qs, just boom, 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 really fast Qs. Now where you're not wasting it on like your Frazzle. Okay, as far as boots go, you can use any boots that you want. Assassin boots are always a great default because they have a dodge roll. So like right here, you have refreshing sprint that, you know, 100% movement speed for 3 seconds, reduce your cooldowns. You got a dodge roll for any kind of PvE that you want, and any small scale PvP that you need. You also have just a regular run, which is a nice thing. So assassin boots are always a good way to go. You can do any boots you want, guys. Any boots you want. The preferred cape would be Morgana cape, because the Mark of the Raven, once you pop in your E's for like your one-handed arcanes and stuff like that, get a casting speed increase and attack speed. The casting speed increase is what you want. You want to be able to just boom, pump this stuff out. But if you're in the open world soloing and stuff like that, you can always just go on Undead Cape. That's the most safest cape. Undead is so awesome because when you're about to die, you go invisible, and then you cast your sprint, and you get away, mount up. It's super awesome. Okay, so for passives, we're not going to go over all the passives. I'm going to go over one passive. The only passive you need to have on Arcane Staff is going to be the Aggressive Caster. Every 4 active spells, you gain a cast speed buff of 40% for 3 seconds, and this does stack with your chest casting ability for your Scholar Robe. So you can have 2 speed casting abilities up at the same time. So pretty much 100% cast speed is pretty much cool. Now this doesn't work with every Arcane Staff. Like for example, like Locust or something like that, you might want to have, like, you know, Energetic, you know, so that way you get more mana back and stuff like that, or some of those. But the ones that you're going to be focused on DPS, pretty much Aggressive Caster is going to be the best way to go for like 80% of these staffs. Okay, and the other build that you're going to have here, this is going to be a strictly PvP medium to large scale ZVZ build. So this is going to be like your ideal ZVZ build for Locust. Now this basically build is basically built just around having a Locust, but you can also use this for you know, the Occultist Staff, or even if you want to have the Great Arcane Staff, if you want to use those. So you're going to have the Assassin Hood, and you're going to use the ability right here. It's going to be called Meditation. Now Meditation, you channel it, and it increases your cooldown reduction. So it makes you get your cooldowns faster and allows you to be able to put more of your Locust E's down. Okay, the next ability right here, this is going to be the more expensive version of it. It's going to be called Force Shield. Now this is the Adjudicator armor. This right here is just a really nice shield you just throw down, and inside of it, all your allies have a really nice tanky resistance. Now with the E from the Void of your Locust, it also gives you resistance increase, so you can, you know, it makes it to where all your allies, you know, have higher resistance to abilities coming in, damage. But the Force Field does that, plus it also gives a healing bonus to everybody inside of it for 30%. So it's a nice little, you can put it down and then cast your Locust, and then people can run through there and not have to worry about taking as much damage. It's really good for offense and defense, mainly used for defense though. Now the boots, you can use whatever boots you want, but the boots that everybody uses right now is going to be Battle Frenzy. It's on the Guardian boots. It just increases your movement speed at 80%, and you're immune to all movement impairing effects, like, you know, stuns, root snares, and stuff like that. So that's really cool. You can just be able to just run through and do stuff like that, but you can use any boots that you want. But this is that ideal Locust setup for PvP, and you're not going to be using the Morgana cape. You'll be using a Mart-like cape. Now the Mart-like cape is a cape that once you get down to a certain percentage of health, it makes your skin turn into stone, and you have a high resistance, and you don't die. Okay guys, thank y'all so much for checking out the Arcane guide here. Now if there's anything that I missed or I didn't go over in depth, just pop it in the chat below, and then we will definitely go over it, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions. Hit me up on my Discord or hit me up on my live stream. Once again, I thank you guys for all the support. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is tremendously amazing. That's really awesome, and I really do appreciate that very much. You guys are freaking amazing, and that's just nutty bananas. And my Twitch is just super popped right now too, so I love you guys so much. Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you all so much for sticking around, and as always, boys, peace.